Rural Heritage on RFD TV is brought to you by Rural Heritage Magazine, a bi-monthly magazine featuring articles about farming and logging with draft animal power, small-scale diversified family farming and homesteading, and other aspects of our rich rural heritage. Rural Heritage Magazine, borrowing from yesterday to do the work of today. For subscription information, please call 319-362-3027 or order online at www.ruralheritage.com.
Horse pull at the Alma Rod and Gun Club got started basically because of the fact that I came home from the service in 1974, and there was a fellow that I got to be a good friend with in town here whose dad had a team of heavyweights. Him and his brother would go to contests, and they said, you know, we should have a contest in your area. So we started looking around as to who could have it and so forth, and went to a couple organizations, and anyway, they said they worked with food and didn't have a place and blah, blah, blah. So we ended up, anyway, going to the Alma Rod and Gun Club, and they agreed to give her a shot. So we started out, didn't know much about it, and, got some help from other people. We went up to Gilmanton, talked to Ford Stelter, and kind of got started that way, and away we went, and, well, she just kept on going, and we had to, after we got going after the first year, the guy said, hey, you don't really have a very nice place to pull here. Maybe you should make an arena. So then there was a discussion, well, we made this pulling arena. We were going to make it for tractor pulls because we had lights there from shooting trap and all kinds of different decisions that were made. But this was in the early 80s. And at any rate, she kept on going and just, kind of built up. It's kind of a unique pull because our crowd there are people that will not miss our pull that grew up here in the area. Maybe their kids come home for it. It's the only one they go to all year, but they won't miss it. And that's kind of unique to our crowd. And then, of course, you have your regular horse pullers crowd that follow each pull from week to week. We run our horse pull under the kind of the sanctions of the Wisconsin Horse Pullers Association. And basically, their rules are you have to be a member of the association to pull. And you have to have one of the judges must be a member of the association. And then we usually have 3 or 4 of the officers that are at our pull, or some of the board of directors, so we have, some of the big wigs are there, and that always helps too. Basically, it's the team that pulls the most weight the furthest distance is kind of how to put it in a phrase. And then there's various rules, like you get 3 chances on each particular load. If you come up and find the boat where it is and you hook on and you don't cross that load, well, then you can either try it right away again, unhook your horses, then you can have a spot pull, which is you get the tractor out there and then they put it on a certain spot, which, maybe you think it'll start better or pull better, whatever the case may be. And we always kind of call that teamstership or horse management, kind of for a phrase to kind of use at the horse pull. And then the ropes are 16 feet apart, and so you have to stay within that during the pull. And there's 3 judges, 1 on each rope, and 1 watches the boat and then runs a chain, and they pull 27.5 feet, which in our area at least they do. Not all over the country they don't. And the reason that was chosen was because back in the heyday of the horse, it was decided that the horse could exert its maximum power for a period of 10 seconds or less without doing any damage to its body. So if you get up on what we call the payload or the money load, or one of the last couple hooks, and you look at your watch when the teamster says, here, and away they go. And you look at your watch, it's going to be anywhere from 8 to 9 seconds, you know, to cover that 27.5 feet.
Today, my main responsibility is to run the chains, measure the weights, make sure that the teamsters aren't, slapping the horses, heading their horses. And these guys out here are professionals. They're very good. These guys come. You heard today that the top 5 teams are in this class, and these guys are professionals. The horses are in shape, and they do an excellent job. So it makes my job a lot easier because you don't got to watch for too much stuff like that. Just mostly get the weights and stuff down, make sure it's fair for everybody. They all start equal. Everybody gets a fair shake. And they help each other out. You see that all the time. You see different guys, teamsters helping other teamsters with their eveners, hooking them up. It's competitive, but at the same time, there's a lot of camaraderie between the teamsters, you betcha. What you've seen today out here, Pa was driving the horses and the daughter and the son were hooking, or and as kids get older, sometimes the kids get a team along with dad, and they all sort of travel together as a family, and it is a family thing. And plus, they get to use the horses at home to get them in shape to do this, and they can all work together doing that also.
Our secretary of the Wisconsin Horse Pullers Association, nice lady next to me and helping around the swing from that, Spencer. She told me that of the 5 teams that are leading in points in this division, they're in the arena pulling today. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 teams in the standings for season points are all here today. So we got the best that the association has to offer right here today.
Here.
As you approach the boat where it is, you always get 3, and you can take that spot right off the bat and say, hey, I think my horses are getting, maybe I got all I can out of them today. I'm going to make it a little easier for them. And at our pull, very traditionally, they spot it back on the grass. And over the years, the pullers said, well, you got to get a good start. If you don't get a good start, you're done. And you will see that at some pulls where, unfortunately, just one horse ain't there with the other one like it's supposed to be. And first thing you know, well, then the guy's got to call him off. And so that's the thing. They get a good start, and that's the main thing that they like. And so pretty much take her right out of the chute at our pull, get her back on the grass, where she's going to slide a little better, and away we go. Primarily at the Alma pull, these are horses that are primarily trained for the sport of pulling. But I mean, you talk to some of these guys like down at the weigh scale and stuff, and the guys say, hey man, I spread 15 loads of manure the other day with my team. And I remember Larry Green's dad, Everett, he told me once, he said, my team is totally different whether at home or they're at a contest. It's just like they kind of know that it's competitive. And he said, I can haul manure with them. He said, they'll stand right there, no problem. But he says, you get them to a contest, it's a whole different story.
You like what you see, ladies and gentlemen? We're getting on some big loads here. Both horses just hang with her. Here comes team number 2. Lawrence Anderson Jr. with Oogie and Judy.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
No pull on pull number 1. Took them off.
Whoa, whoa. Whoa.
Ooh, out there quite a ways. Pull number 2.
somebody was going to come up to you and they were going to ask you, how do I get started in horse pulling? What is some of the advice you would give?
I guess I like to start out with a young pair. Find a young pair and just, if you have never driven a horse, you're probably better off with an older pair and just take them and work them and drive them, learn how to drive.
And probably not by yourself.
No, you probably need some advice from an older guy to help you so you ain't doing anything wrong, because once you do something wrong, they pick that up pretty fast. Kind of like a dog. If you do something wrong, they learn that just like that. But sometimes when you want them to learn something, it takes a long time to learn what you want them to learn. Even if I quit for 3 years and come back with another pair and think I'm going to be back on top, probably ain't going to happen. You think you got a good pair at home, but when you come to town, you find out what you got. You might think, God, they can really pull at home, but you're out of it for a few years. You're out of touch. I like to start in early spring when it's cool. You can work them fairly hard and they don't get hot, and then they get in shape, and you just keep working them when it's cool, and by the time it gets hot, you don't really have to work them that much. You're already muscled up. You just got to kind of maintain it. I've tried to work a horse in the spring, started in the summer, and it just takes you forever because you can't work them very much. They get hot right away, and it's hot, and you're just taking the zap right out of them. I usually start hauling manure in the spring. We start spreading manure, and then we do some seeding with them a little bit. Use them in the field a little bit. We used to do some plowing, but you just can't plow 3-4 hours and you're done, because you work them too much. You just zap them. So we just work them, haul manure, get them toughened in that way, and then towards closer to pulling season, we start driving them on a light sled, a work sled, scoot they call them. We drag them 4 or 5 miles. And as you get them a little better in shape, you throw some weight in, and then when it starts getting hot, we start pulling some weight out. If they're a pulling horse, they got it in them. You just gotta harness it.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, some are real high strung and they don't know what to do with them, but if you get them straightened and get them headed the right direction, then you can do a good job. Like my pair's been together 8 years. They just know when they come here it ain't heavy, so they just pull. And some horses still get at it pretty hard, but they kind of figured out after a while that they don't really have to pull that hard on the first loads.
Do you think they like it?
Oh yeah, if they didn't like it, they wouldn't last. You know, they just, some guys think, oh, you got to get after them. Well, mine's never been touched, and they just come in and they're ready to leave right now. It's about like a barrel horse. When you come in that arena, they know they're going to be running. So you see them at the national rodeos, they're hot coming down the aisle, and just natural. They know why they're there.
Yeah, they get hot and then they kind of get collected right when they know it's the moment. And then they explode.
Yep, that's just a good horse. When they know when to come alive, I guess is what you'd say.
Right.
My dad started pulling in '74, and then we just kind of took over and been pulling for ever since '74.
And you and your brother are here, is that
Yep.
right? Your brother's got his own
Yep.
outfit?
Same own team, yep.
And then you got kids that are coming up as
Yeah,
well?
I got a daughter that pulls, and I got a son that pulls.
Is it a pretty nice atmosphere for a family?
I'd say, yeah. I like it as a family. Everybody, all the pullers are kind of a family. The end of the year, we all get together at the Nationals up in Menominee. Barefoots are there, the professionals, the ponies are pulling. Everybody's willing to help everybody there. They do what they can, and it's just a nice get together at the end of the year.
Vista Park. It's a scenic overlook, 500 feet above the town of Alma. It's been on book covers, calendars, I mean, you name it. I mean, there were 2 weddings there last weekend again. I mean, it's a fabulous park, and it's a beautiful view in Spanish, Buena Vista. We have put a sign out on Highway 35, and probably the best story about that is my brother always runs a spot tractor, and one year he came out of the clubhouse, and here was a taxi cab right on the end of the sidewalk there, and the fellow was from Kansas. He was going through the Mayo Clinic for some health problems, and so he just hired a taxi, and they just come over here and driving around, and he saw that sign out on Highway 35 that said horse pull and pointed out on County taken east on County Road I, and so the guy went in there, He said, "Oh," he said, "I haven't been to horse pull for 30 years." He said, but he says the meter's kind of running, so I don't know what I'm gonna do. But yeah, I think just people come in off the road because they see it. There were a couple bikers came last year, and I said, "What do you guys do?" Well, we said we know one of the guys, that's here and so forth, and the horse pullers have their own crowd, just like if you're going to a racetrack, if you're a Dale Jr. fan or a Matt Kenseth fan, and they got their own clientele that kind of follows them, and if you hit a nice day and people are out and about, it works out.
Team number 5, Larry Sopa from Arcadia.
My interest in horses came from my grandfather, Albert Harold. When I was a young child in that 5, 6, 7, 8 era time period, I would spend some time over at him and Grandpa's house, and he had a team of horses yet. He was one of them farmers that hung on to the last team, And I can remember raking hay with him. I don't know where I sat on that old side delivery, but I know it wasn't safe. Could probably right behind the evener, but he didn't care. He had faith in his horses, old Lila and Beauty. And then he got another team as I was in high school called Champ and Pride. And because of that, I guess whenever we drive around the countryside as a young kid, I knew where every horse pasture was, where every horse stood. Around this next corner, there's going to be 2 horses standing by that barn. And even today now, if anybody got pretty much draft horses within a 50-mile radius, if I haven't met them, I've heard their name or at least know they're out there. And that's how, and then we got home from the service. I bought a team of Shetland ponies and started driving. And I made more mistakes than you can shake a stick at because there was hardly anybody left to teach me anymore. And as we got older, and then eventually I bought a pair of drafts in 1984, and Bernie Sopa was the guy. He got me interested in the horse pulling, and he worked right here in Alma, and I got to know his dad real good, and his brother Alan, who now is still pulling now, got a pair of heavyweights and he pulls himself, and so it was kind of nice. That's how I kind of got into it, and I was the man on the spot, and the gun club was my carrier. They stood behind me.
Who was the puller for team number 1?
I remember an old guy come into the co-op one day. He was a real old horseman, and he had a Bronco for a vehicle. And I commented on him, and I said, broke left or right? Oh yeah. I said, drive single or double? Yep. I says, walk up to the machine right next to the belt side? Yep, no problem. And there was another guy standing next to me that knew nothing about horses. He thought, he looked at me, he says, are you crazy? You know, but this old guy, he was just getting a kick out of that. You know, and so that's, you know, it's another old world. Yeah, it's another world. That's just how it is, no doubt about it. And you know, I'm glad to be a part of it. And
This program is available for purchase. To order your copy, please call 319-362-3027 or visit www.ruralheritage.com. Rural Heritage is a bi-monthly magazine dedicated to draft animal farming and logging, as well as other aspects of our rich rural heritage. It is published by Mishka Press, which also offers a complete line of Back to the Land books, DVDs, and calendars. Call or write for a catalog or subscription information, or visit our website at www.ruralheritage.com.